history's being made today.
Let's see what this kid got going on.
Ibram Kendi, I wanted to ask you specifically about this issue of mob violence, because so many people here in the United States are treating this as an unprecedented event. But as you mentioned, there's many examples throughout American history of mob violence by white mobs. I think of the burning of the Charleston post office in 1834 by a mob that was trying to seize abolitionist literature that was going through the South. The riots during the Civil War of whites who attacking the black community over the drafting of folks to fight in the Union Army. Even 1962, the riots at the University of Mississippi, hundreds of whites armed, having shootouts with federal marshals protecting James Meredith's effort to desegregate the University of Mississippi. So what do you think has touched so much a large part of America in terms of this particular example of mob violence?
To you when your name is Q and my overfame. Wow. I don't be on tilt until God referrals. He sat me down, I'm still trying to get higher. He looked at me stupid when I took up the fire. Meanwhile, my nigga drunk as fuck, a nigga fucked up, we all fucked up.
I think the unfortunate fact is that those other cases of mob violence, the victims of that violence were black folks, were indigenous folks, were Latinx folks, were not the citadel of America. And so white Americans oftentimes did not see themselves as the victims of those mobs, even though the victims of those mobs were Americans, and they should have seen themselves. And if we can collectively see ourselves through, as victims of these mobs, I think we would have a better country. But the way in which we're able to do that is we gain a better understanding of African American history, which is why it was so crucial for Keisha Blaine and I to put together 400 Souls.
Nailed it too! And he censored himself!
Because it helps us understand how much history is political, and even in the way that we write history, the way that we tell the history, because what Nicole is pointing out here is that ultimately, from the very beginning, we tell this history of the United States, and by not focusing on the white lion, what we do is automatically erase the presence of black people in the United States. And by focusing on the Mayflower, the narrative is ultimately moving forward, telling a story of America through a perspective of a particular group of people, and in so doing marginalizing and ignoring and erasing other voices. And so it was important to point out to people, listen, you may have received an education, certainly, but now this is a moment where you have to go through a re-education. And I think our book, 400 Souls, provides an important tool for that, for educators to help students understand that the history is far more complex, far richer, and far more diverse, which is the point here.
I want to remind everybody that may not know how the origin of hip-hop was started. The origin of hip-hop was started by the power of black and Puerto Rican people. In case you needed to be reminded, a lot of motherfuckers want to try to gentrify our culture. A lot of motherfuckers want to try to act like they conveniently forget who fathered this shit. Black people and Puerto Rican people together, we created the greatest culture in the fucking world, and it's called hip-hop. Facts. So in case some of you elder statesmen have not been doing your job by schooling the younger youth about the origin of this powerful and beautiful and most divine culture, please take this moment and feel inspired to start doing a little more schooling, so we ain't gotta complain too much when we see the youth doing shit we don't like. Instead of complaining, teach these young brothers and sisters, so we ain't gotta sit by and talk about all the bullshit we don't agree with. Facts? long as we don't teach these other little funny motherfuckers, they're gonna come into our shit and continue to dilute it. And we ain't having that shit no more. Facts! So, on the count of 3, my beautiful people, we gonna say cheers to celebrating a powerful moment as people together in the name of hip-hop culture. On the count of 3, say cheers with me. 1, 2, 3.
So the first thing that we emphasize, and we make this clear in the book, is that certainly Black people were present on what becomes the United States.
I know homie right here.
Long before 1619. So we make this clear. And of course, we even emphasize a group of Africans who were present around 1520s.
You know, my family is Jamaican and Latino and Jamaican and Caribbean people. You know, with tropical people. You know, with people that understand what that timing and that rhythm and that pocket feels like in a way unlike any other culture of people.
But they ultimately fled, and the reason that we focus on 1619 is that, one, it is a symbolic birth date of Black America, but also because this is when the first group of captive Africans arrived in Jamestown, Virginia, via the White Lion. And so this is why we start where we do in this book.
You know, from the bass lines to the way we choose to place our words as people of the Caribbean and of the tropics, I think that it's just it's something you can't really define in words. It's a feeling thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you watch Latinos do the South Side of Merengue and you see Jamaican people, you know, do they shit. It's kind of like something that goes hand in hand. And, you know, it ain't a coincidence that in every urban community, the Latino and Blacks is there together. That ain't no accident. You know what I'm saying?
Now, if you fast forward to the 1830s, here's where you meet Mariah Stewart in the city of Boston. And what is so important about Mariah Stewart is that this is an abolitionist, a Black feminist, someone who spoke boldly about Black rights and freedom at a moment where millions of Black people were still enslaved, particularly in the U.S. South. And her story helps us see the prominence of Black women's leadership and certainly Black women's activism in the U.S. And we can draw the links from Mariah Stewart to the Black Lives Matter movement and the courageous Black women who founded that movement. And so I think all of these narratives together help us not only understand the history, but they help us contextualize this present moment.
Come on! I got so much trouble on my mind. Look at how they out here dealing with us. All these police here to really get us. Niggas really got a job where it's okay to kill us. Fuck that shit now. Nigga here to talk that shit now. Don't get caught up in the glitch now. We hear this nigga fuck up in that bitch now. You ain't been with us, do not try to switch now. You been part of the fabric or the snitch now. Fucking systematic oppression, sit down. Like you can still hit me with your little whip now. We demand justice and we come to get it. Still fucking unapologetic with it. Our ancestors was very prophetic with it. They told us we attracted y'all, we magnetic with it.
Say what? Say what? Can't hear y'all. Little louder. Can't hear y'all. Say what? Say what? Little louder. Can't hear y'all. Yeah. Check it out.
You know, Black American history is American history, and that's why it was so crucial for us, Keisha Blaine and I, to put together 400 Souls, because we wanted to put together an accessible, single-volume history, you know, of Black America, so people could learn the nation that they're living in.
No justice, no peace. Say what? Say what? Can't hear y'all. Little louder. Can't hear y'all. Say what? Say what? Little louder. Can't hear y'all.
See, you got the privilege to be colorblind. I can never not see colored lines. No color signs written on the front doors. Now they let let you in, but then abuse you for it. And if you try to call a spade, they're taking all your funding away. That's how they play. They do drugs, they the victim. If you do drugs, you getting booked through the system. They kids act up in school, they see the principal. My kids act up, we dead at the municipal is criminal. How black kids have never seen as children. We grow up too fast, becoming victims. Over-sexualized, but underrepresented. But it's our fault, right? We wanted the attention. That's how you pass the buck. Don't act surprised when we act up. See, the virus got us jobless and stressed a lot. Now America's on fire, the blister pop. Ain't nobody got immunity but arrested cops. We ain't safe in our communities, arrested cops. If Rihanna can't sleep in her own damn home, Trayvon can't walk and just talk on the phone. Amai can't jog without being hunted and a shot like a dog. But if he was a dog, he'd probably get more love. Killers would have spent their whole lives behind bars. But he's one of ours and the rules don't apply. Shot Jacob Blake in the back 7 times. Said he won't comply, but didn't Floyd comply? And still you knew that on his neck until he died. But let cows walk by. Offer them a ride, for the burgers a prize. The law is the law or the law is a lie. Cause if Rihanna can't sleep and Amai can't run, George can't breathe and Tamir can't be young and Elijah can't walk, Sandra can't talk, it gon' be no fucking peace out on your sidewalks.
Say what? Say what? Can't hear ya. Little louder. Can't hear ya.
This was, again, thinking about the current moment. We were really thinking about how do we connect past to the present, and that essay helps us contextualize the history and to see some of the challenges that remain even to this day, to see how it connects to the period of slavery, which, of course, Heather Williams explains in this text.